Now, what do you make of this extra $15 billion that the government's spending on JobKeeper?
Well, it's the kind of thing that happens when you just don't know what's going to happen, because we don't know the severity of stage 4 lockdowns, what economic impact it's going to have. So at this point in time, Treasury is doing their best guess, and the best guess isn't really comforting. Unemployment going over 10%. At one stage, Pete, you and I were talking about possibly topping out around 8%. So we're talking about 1.2 million Aussies out of work rather than 800,000. A recession, not just for 2 quarters, but now for 3 quarters. And 530,000 Victorians new to JobKeeper. So, and think about this, the new JobKeeper plan for, the December quarter and the March quarter was supposed to be a tapering effect, a tapering process. Now it's going to be beefed up. It's going to be put on steroids because of this. So Treasury's just guessing it's going to be a $15 billion hit in total. It could be more.
You mentioned there, okay, 3 quarters of negative growth. When do we start talking about depression, Pete?
Yeah, it's a good point, Pete. There's no precise definition of depression, but certainly when a recession becomes long-lasting and serious, like, for example, if we saw unemployment go over 12%, I think we're into a depression-like situation. You still might call it a great recession, like the Americans did after the GFC. The longer a recession drags on for, the longer you start seeing bankruptcies as well as rising unemployment, the more it looks like depression. Pete, I don't think we're a candidate for that at all. But we are looking at a potentially a very serious recession.
I guess you can't be sure, though. I mean, these times are so uncertain. You can't be sure where we're heading here. I mean, look, the country was opening up just a couple of weeks ago, and now look where we are.
Yeah, well, we were in the top 3 economies of the world for handling the coronavirus and then achieving an economic comeback, and that was South Korea, New Zealand, and ourselves. China is the first country out of recession, but in many ways you can't trust the Chinese data. But for all non-Chinese countries, we were doing really well. We're now being pushed back into the pack. Certainly infections around the country still fantastic compared to most countries, but Victoria is in a state of real crisis.
Well, you did mention, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, Pete, when you mentioned it was a very expensive bonk in Melbourne, and we've got to make light of the situation sometimes, but I mean, now it's a $15 billion bonk?
Exactly right, Pete. And I think the important point for Gladys Berejiklian is that she has to look at the economic implications of not playing tough ball because you might be afraid of losing votes if you make people wear masks. Look, Pete, I've been to various places in Sydney over the last few weeks, and what's going on in hotels is unbelievable. It's too risky. We're supposed to be 3 pizza boxes apart, and one person said to me, big, medium or small. It's supposed to be 3 big pizza boxes apart for 1.5, and we're not doing that, and the police aren't policing it hard enough, and the pubs and the restaurants are taking risks that could blow up not only their own business, but also ruin the economy as well as the national economy.
Where's the sunshine on these dark days, Pete?
Well, there is sunshine. Like, retail numbers, Pete, are unbelievable. We got this for the June month, we're up 2.7% in June. May was 8.8, 16% or something like that. But for the year, we're up 8.5%. So what's happening is we're all locked up at home. We can't go overseas. I think our overseas spending when we go overseas a year is about $60 billion. We're spending this, and like yesterday, Harvey Norman's share price went up something like...
what about Kogan? Kogan?
Well, Kogan's online, so he's even better placed than Jerry. But despite the fact that Victorian Harvey Norman's have been shut down, his share price went up 7.47%. So Jerry will be very happy about that. But we are spending because we can't go overseas. And so that might actually soften the blow for GDP. We might get a shock surprise that local spending will offset some of the negativity that's built into the Treasury's forecasting. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I hope that's right.
All right, yeah.